You're listening to Art Workers, the Independent Artists Forum. I'm your host, Carl Bindman. Thanks for tuning in. Today's episode features a conversation with my friend Alexandra Acosta, a New York City-based actor with a role in the upcoming horror comedy film Screamboat, premiering in New York City theaters this coming Wednesday. In our conversation, we talk about the experience of shooting that film, why it matters to have an artistic community, the powerful and vulnerable relationship of a teacher and a student, and how to choose what's interesting. That's a fake laugh that I'm doing right now to segue into the episode. But we are into the episode, which is now. So welcome everybody to another episode of Art Workers.
Art Workers.
The Independent Artists Forum, with a special guest who you just heard whispering, maybe mocking me slightly. Whoa, Alex Acosta.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Acosta.
Yeah. What do you do, Alex?
I am an actor. Yes, I act. I'm trying to consider myself a writer as well now. And I also do a lot of other things to just kind of keep afloat.
Yeah, like all actor writers, we have to do other things to pay for our existence as what we want to be. But Alex, I will say, is a very interesting actor and one who I have an interesting story with, because Alex and I, was it this year? Was it last year?
I feel like it must have been last year.
I think it was this summer.
Was it? No. The first time that I met you was through that Circle program.
Yeah, that was like 2 years ago. That was 2020.
That was
2022, 2023. It was the fall of 2022. Okay, so Alex and I auditioned for the Actor Studio together. Mm-hmm. But what she's referring to is beforehand, I had done this like arts education program that Circle in the Square Theater School does. It goes to like public schools around the city and like teach them a specific sort of methodology of playwriting called playmaking by Judith Sklar. And at the end of it, we perform the plays that these 8-year-olds wrote, quote unquote wrote, quote unquote plays. Quote unquote performs. It's really fun. But so when we did this, 2022, 2023, this was the height of when the fucking fascist governor of Texas was busing all of these new arrivals in the country up to New York. And like the public education system was flooded maliciously. And so a lot of young non-English speaking students, a lot of Spanish speaking children were joining these classes in public schools. And the curriculum was in English. And we worked to find a way for them to produce some plays. They drew pictures. And then Alex was one of a crew of, well, why am I saying this? Do you want to tell me about how you...
Yeah, so I had done the program a few years back, and the director of the program, Kim, reached out to me and said that there was a handful of children who only spoke Spanish, and some of them had begun to write their plays in Spanish, and they really, they wrestled with the idea of possibly translating them, but they thought it would be a better option to perform it in their native tongue. So the kids could actually understand their own work. So that's when they brought me on, because I can speak Spanish.
What?
It's crazy.
Wow.
It's rare. It's a special skill.
It's hard to find in this city. But it was really, actually, I think, wonderful what you all did. It was you, it was Chris Brown, not that Chris Brown, and it was a third person. Wasn't there a third person? It was just you two?
I think it was just us two, yeah.
You were so dynamic in your performances that I thought.
We were so diverse, and we are so able to perform all kinds of characters. So
Yeah. There's nothing foreign to me that is human, except for, in my case, speaking Spanish. But yeah, so you performed these plays that these children wrote, and that's how we met. was by pretending to be frogs and giants and objects. I think the rules of the playmaking program where you can't write people, right? Like they have to be.
Well, I think it was just they would scribble, right? So the way that they would create the characters is that they would scribble on a little piece of paper, and then they would try to see what kind of objects or things that they would see, and those would become their characters. So if they saw a frog, for example, then one of their characters would be a frog.
Or a cloud. A lot of clouds.
Yes, there was a lot of clouds.
Amorphous.
Yes.
Yeah, but then a few months to however many years later, because we don't know how time works anymore, I speak for myself and for you. You're welcome. You reached out to me.
Yeah.
To be like...
Yeah, I thought Carl was talented. Yes, I did.
Here's your $20.
I was like, I think Carl, and that I think that speaks highly of you to be able to do like a children's play and still be able to showcase your ability as a frog who doesn't, whatever.
It is as good as it gets.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I can actually like see through the writing was brilliant, of course, but I thought that you really lifted the words off the page. So I was like, I would love the opportunity to work with Carl.
And we made that happen.
Yeah.
By auditioning for the Actors Studio, which is maybe the first question that I have for you. We didn't get in. Will you try again?
Absolutely.
Why?
I think I have a need to be part of a community of actors. I love being surrounded by other actors. I'm inspired by them. I want to know, any tips or tricks that they may have for me that can help me in my journey. And yeah, I feel like I thrived a lot while I was in Circle, being surrounded by that kind of like structure and constantly working on your craft and being challenged almost every single day. And I feel like the Actors Studio could provide that kind of challenge again without me having to go to another school for it.
Yeah, like another conservatory or MFA.
No, let's go to the free thing,
Yeah. Well, we something we have in common as well is that we both did the Circle and the Square program. And before we spoke, I was thinking about this about like institutions, right? And the role institutions play in providing community. And like the Circle and the Square that you went to was so different than the Circle and the Square that I went to. And I mean, the Actors Studio also has been around for 50 plus years. It's this thing that's changed, but the name and the pedigree stays on it. And like, what is it for you about like these institutions that you think fosters the community that you're looking for?
Well, I mean, any community of actors attracts me, I'm trying to get in wherever I can. I'm just trying to work as much as possible and, kind of flex that muscle as much as possible, surrounded by other people who still have that hunger and that drive that want to keep going with it. Because, as you know, a lot of actors who studied with us are no longer pursuing this. So, yeah, I want to be surrounded by other people who are just as hungry.
Yeah, well, I'm laughing because what we were talking about before was like jobs and stuff. And the people that leave acting, usually it's not because they don't like acting, it's because they like eating. And these communities do seem like sort of necessary, right? Because if I was shooting an event, I take pictures earlier this week, and for me, I was around 100 some odd people, none of whom were actors, actually, except the two organizers. Turns out that a lot of people who work for NGOs are artists, but everybody who was like attending the event, they are engineers and scientists and business people, and like they all looked so comfortable. They had flown into New York from wherever they were from for Climate Week. How ironic. And like, it was just really the first time I've been around such a large group of people who had gathered to do something that wasn't a theater space. And afterwards I was like, what am I fucking doing with my life? I could be getting free lunches at the Steelcase Center if I just got a real job. And I think that, being in a community of actors is an antidote to that, because I think the natural impulse is, this is so hard. This is so hard. This is so hard. I don't want to keep doing it. No, you have to, because you're around other people that are doing it, that have made the commitment. I mean, maybe that for me is the draw to something like the Actors Studio.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's something about, I guess being, I mean, what they say is that if you can find joy in anything else, then do that, right? Because this is such a hard career. This is so impossible. And God knows if you're ever going to find any success in it. There's no guarantees. It doesn't matter if you do 10 years, you're going to guaranteed a great role or you're guaranteed a great career. None of that is guaranteed. Whereas in like another job, like what you said, you know, there's a clear path almost to like promotions, money, security, all of that.
Or what seems like a clear path.
Yeah, what seems, I mean, yeah.
If all of that worked fine, there would be nothing to make plays about.
That's true. That's very true, actually. Yeah, you're right.
But you recently had a big gig. A big gig.
I did. I do. I have.
You have. So everybody knows that Walt Disney is still alive, right? Pulling the strings behind everything. Mm-hmm. But one of his strings snapped. Marionette Walt failed to keep the copyright of the mouse. Which means that people made a bunch of fucking little stuff using what is now public domain. Mm-hmm. And you were one of them.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yes. So I recently filmed Screamboat, which is a comedy horror film based off of Steamboat Willie. Mm-hmm. So Steamboat Willie is a little murderous mouse that, gets into some mischief one night in a ferry.
Did you sign an NDA?
I did. Yes, I cannot speak too much about it.
Can you speak about your time filming?
I mean, without giving anything away.
Yeah, but how was it for you? Was this your first feature film?
It was my first feature.
How was that?
I was so excited to get on set. I was so excited just to even just having my makeup done and talking to the makeup artist or, getting the costuming, just any little thing that I did was it felt like a big adventure. I mean, I've done other things before, I've done other TV shows where I've had the makeup and the costumes and whatnot, but I don't know, this one felt so electric to me. I'm like, this is an exciting opportunity. This is something completely new. The days were long, but I felt like we were surrounded by so many wonderful people. I felt surrounded by so many wonderful people. I got to connect with so many. It was just an overall. I don't know how to say. It was a bubbly experience.
Were there any sort of specific moments on set that really stand out to you as this was the best fucking day?
I just remember sitting behind the screen monitor and watching some of my fellow actors in their scene. And I was just so excited by the complete visuals of it because it takes a village to get this done. So the amount of people working on the set and the crew and the lighting and the sound, and then you see it on the screen and it looks stunning. That's movie magic, right? And then you look around and you see all the crew kind of trembling, trying to hold something in place or something. It was kind of magical. Yeah, everyone working together just to make this one shot work. It was wonderful.
And that was directed by
Stephen Lamort.
Groovy. And it comes out
in January 2025 in theaters.
Are you going to get to do a press tour and stuff? Well, who did you play?
I played, can I say this? I'm not exactly sure if I can say this. I play a very lovely woman.
Okay.
I am so afraid of what I can share.
I don't want to get you sued, so I won't ask for more detail. Yeah. But in the performing of the part, were there any moments where it was really rich, really challenging?
I wouldn't necessarily say it was challenging. It was
right in your wheelhouse.
It was something that I took a lot of inspiration from. It was so minor, but I took some mannerisms from my grandmother. So it just felt so natural in my body. It felt so this is just an extension of me, And I think we do that for most characters anyway, right? Where it all feels like it's a little bit of ourselves or a part of ourselves that's just magnified, But yeah, so it wasn't particularly challenging.
I think that's nice, right?
Yeah. It was so easy. It really was an easy time on set. Everyone was so lovely. It was just, yeah, it was so, I don't know how else to describe it. And there was a kid on set. So that was another interesting challenge, and making sure that we were going to keep the kid protected from all kinds of, it's a comedy horror film, and there are some dark aspects to the film, and making sure the kid is, shielded from all that any kind of scary visuals. It was interesting. I was like, oh, the kids don't just like automatically see and hear all the horrible things that we're saying and doing. Oh, cool. They're protected.
I can't do horror movies. Like I have a lot of trouble with horror movies. And it's something I've always wondered about, like being on set of a horror film. Are you afraid?
Well, this one's particularly different because it's a comedy horror. So, it's more fascinating watching like the mechanics of certain things, of how they make things work, as opposed to, like I can imagine like if like working on The Exorcist probably would have been a different, beast than this, which is, just a comedy horror. Yeah. It's lighter. And it's a little bit more ridiculous. You're just like, they lean in on that a lot.
Yeah, and I think maybe the conceit as well. It's Steamboat Willie out for blood.
It's cute, dare I say?
You darest, thou darest say.
I dare say it was cute. I don't think the ultimate cut will be considered cute, but for me, I was like, look at him. Like, he's so cute.
So this was your first feature, and you've done TV shows, you said.
Yes.
What was was there a difference for you in terms of the pressure on like, fuck, this is going to be in a movie. It's going to be big. It's going to be 40 feet high.
Yeah, 40 feet high. Yeah, I didn't know. I knew when I had auditioned for it, it was a feature film. And when I got the part, I knew it was a feature. Which
happened like the day before one of our rehearsals, right? Because I remember you telling me the story. Goodness, I think it was one of the callback rehearsals for the Actors Studio.
I remember I had a callback for it. And then I don't remember how far or how much later after that I got the call for it. Maybe like a week later.
You had told me that you got the call where you were at work.
I did get the call while I was at work, which was so exciting. I was like, should I just quit now? Like, should I just walk out this door? I don't need this job. No, but I'm completely joking, because I didn't know it was going to be in the theaters until our first table read. And so the director got up and he told everyone it's going to be in theaters. A lot of people are excited about this. There's a big horror film following. There's a lot of horror fans out there. And it was the first time I kind of realized, I'm like, oh, this is a little bigger than I thought it was initially. I guess in those lenses, I kind of felt a little bit of pressure, but again, the role was it was so light and fun, and everyone was so wonderful that it never felt like this big, I need to get this right,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Something that occurred to me when you were talking about sort of the community of a film, or the community of a TV show, seems aligned with what you were saying about seeking to find like a group of actors or a group of peers in the actor studio or in like training and stuff. What do you feel is different about the community that you get on a project versus the community that you're looking for in a institutional context?
Yeah, I think that in a project like that, you're in it for a short amount of time, right? So let's say it only films for like a month, and you're kind of in that world for like a month, but then you go off to do your own different kinds of projects, and so you don't really necessarily keep in touch with everyone. So that I don't know, I guess that sense that you'd feel in an institution was a little bit different in that way, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I've spoken with actors and other people who express like that's one of the things they really like about working in the theater or working on a film is really intense community, and then it goes away.
It's the saddest thing ever.
I find that sad.
Yeah, I think back on like things that I've done on like theater productions that I've done where I felt like I got really close to the cast and, we were bonded together, or we did a lot of, I'm speaking specifically about this tour that I did. I bonded really well with the cast.
What was the tour?
It was for, oh my goodness, Don Quixote.
That's from Shrek, right?
That is from Shrek. Wow, look
Donkey.
at you. And it was just for it was for theaters, for national, goodness gracious, I forget what it's called. But it's for educational purposes. So we toured around the country, we went to specific schools and just kind of did Don Quixote for them. I grew really close to the cast. And, you kind of keep in touch over time and you still text and call every now and then. But, that the daily grind, the daily, those deep conversations that you have while you're all sitting in a car together, talking about your dreams and your aspirations and what you want out of life, like that kind of goes away. I mean, I guess you can pick up the phone and call and have that conversation, but it's not as natural, I guess.
Or come on a podcast.
And talk about it. Yeah.
What do you want out of life, Alex?
Oh my goodness. What do I want out of life? What do I want out of life? I want... Goodness gracious, I don't know. Joy, I guess. That's it.
What do you want out of acting?
What do I want out of acting? I guess that's what it brings me. Joy. I don't know. I cannot tell you exactly why I'm so drawn to it. I just know that when I was a kid, I wanted to do everything and be everything and do everything. And right now I feel like I still have a little bit of that. Like I want to experience everything, regardless of it's like complete and total utter heartbreak or complete I'm not going to do hard drugs, but big moments of high. And I feel like that's more easily accessible to me through acting, I guess. Yeah, I can live other people's lives. I want to live 100 lives. So,
well, depending on how many gigs you've done, you might be there.
I might have already done 100 lives.
Yeah, I think the kids shows alone, would put you at maybe 150.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What then do you sort of see as this is something I've been thinking about for myself, so I want to run it by you. But what do you want your acting to be about?
What do you want it to be about?
Well, I'm thinking because I don't fucking know. I at Circle and Square Theater School, where we both went. I don't know if you saw about the Dot in the Box program that they've started, which is meant to be this bridge program for recent graduates to enter the industry. It would be an interesting thing to do, because at the end of it you get an equity card and you get to be around the community more of some of these teachers who I really love. And it's nice to be in an educational institution context where people are learning and growing, and it's beautiful. But I've been out of school for 2 years and I have done that. I have entered the industry. So I'm saying this not just because I didn't get cast in it, but I did think it was I was curious about it, but I'm not sad that they chose other folks.
How dare they?
Oh, they're great. Some of them I'm close friends with. Some of them I despise. I won't tell you which. No, I'm joking. I despise them all. But as part of the application process for this, you had to write a little spiel, why do I want to do this program? And what am I looking for? And what are my goals? And the thing that I had a lot of trouble with was what I want to get from this program. And what I framed it as was I've been working basically nonstop for 2 years, except for when I didn't have my work permit this summer and for the time it took for my work permit to come in. So basically from October of 2022 until July of 2024, I've been on a fucking barnstorm of just gig, which I'm very lucky to have done. But it also hasn't really left me with any time for thinking about, I'm doing all this work, but what do I want it to be about? What do I want this work to be for, other than just working? And I didn't really have an answer. And that's what I wrote in my application was I want to do this program to have a chance, to be forced to sit down and evaluate, take classes again, to reconnect with my work for my sake and for my own like personal connection to it, rather than, well, I'm in New York to do work. No, I'm in New York to be a non-resident alien dependent spouse. Thank you, immigration. I know, but I am here spiritually for myself to be acting. So for me, my work has been like, I'm building my community here of artists that I like and who like me, and we share sensibilities. And my work has been about advancing that goal, about making friends, about learning where I'm useful as an actor, what kind of directors, what kind of projects, what kind of things can I serve well with my craft. But kind of at no point were any of those things about like, what am I getting in terms of like nourishment from the work, you know? And I don't have really a clear answer for myself about what I want my work to be about beyond advancing the capacity to do the work, because it is kind of this unspoken assumption that it's the thing I do. I love doing it. It's fun. It's joyful. Doing the work makes me feel good and like I'm using my capacities in an exciting way. Maybe that's enough.
Maybe. Well, it's so hard. That question, I think, is so hard because and I'm speaking for myself. I don't want to speak for you, but or maybe I should speak for you.
Please. Tell me what my work's about. Solve this problem for me.
I don't think we can answer that quite yet in this point in our career, because we just kind of get whatever work we can. We don't necessarily have the luxury at this point to make decisions about, you know, where we want it to go, or what kind of roles we want to take on, and what kind of message we want to put out there.
I don't know if I agree.
Really?
You feel like even at like sort of early career stage, you don't have, well, why?
Because you have to say yes to everything. At least that's the way I was kind of a little bit taught at Circle, and a little bit believe it for myself. You have to say yes to everything to be able to make connections, to be able to get you to the next project, or to be able to just, I don't know, do something at least. So you're not just sitting at home twiddling your thumbs.
But when the stakes are relatively low, which, you know, relatively, there's still high stakes, there's still people working, putting their hearts into projects. Like, if you don't learn how to say no now.
I see what you're saying. But if it's a paid gig and I'm available for it, chances are I will say yes. Yeah. And it's just, I think, where I am right now. I hope to one day not be in that position and just have the luxury of being able to choose. But I don't think we have, I don't have that right now.
But you've learned how to say no to unpaid gigs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't work for free anymore.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying you do still have some agency.
Absolutely. But I think that I had to, when I first got out of Circle, I tried to fill up my resume as much as possible, and I said yes to absolutely everything, whether I liked the script or not. It didn't even matter. It was just, I booked it. Oh, great. Yes, I am available. Yes, I will do it. Oh, it's unpaid. It's okay. I'll try to pick up some extra shifts in the daytime or whenever it is, just so I can work. And it didn't matter whether I liked my character or not. I mean, of course, I had some rules for myself, like I wasn't going to do nudity for free or anything like that.
No free foot content.
No, absolutely not. At least $1 million per piggy, you know? But there were some rules I had for myself, but for the most part, absolutely yes to everything. Absolutely yes. And I think that's kind of why I've started, or I've been drawn to writing a little bit more, because that's where I can kind of then make decisions for myself about what I want to put out there, what I want the work to be, you know? And there's just I always have so many little like ideas, and I'm just constantly jotting it down. And so I've kind of decided, well, let me just try to do this a little bit more formally instead of just having a bunch of notes all over the place.
Yes, the notes everywhere.
Yes.
It's familiar, I think, to many people who have instincts towards writing.
Mm-hmm.
Or just generally, man, I don't know what like, I would say accountant friends. I don't have any accountant friends. But somebody I went to school with, he's a lawyer now. I bet he has
accountant
notes or accountant friends. Yeah. God, good for him. Actually, an actor who decided to go to law school, somebody who wanted to eat. Sorry, that was a tangent that totally threw me off the line of questioning here.
Apologies.
No, it was my tangent.
It wasn't the piggies.
No, although wow, oof, those piggies. You can't see them, folks, but they are oinking. Agency writing. Oh, writing. So you're doing a class. You had invited me to take this class, and I said no because
you said absolutely not, Alex. I never want to see your face again.
Yeah, I've asked her to put a paper bag on for this. If you're crinkling, that's what it is. Tell me
about it.
Well, I don't really care about the class. I care about your work.
Ooh. What is my work? I am currently writing a solo show, and I have thrown everything onto that page. It is very loosely based on my life. But because, there's like a spiritual being that appears in the play. And so, very loosely based on my life.
Yeah,
totally
that was me, right?
Yes, absolutely. No, I guess I'll share because it doesn't really matter. I don't have an NDA for this and I could just say whatever I want about this. But Huarte Mercado, do you know who that is? No, of course not. Okay, so he was really big in like the Latin community. There was actually a documentary released about him. I think last year or something, or it might be during the pandemic, produced by Lin-Manuel.
Miranda.
I'm
You're
so
on
sorry.
first name basis, of course.
Lynn and I go way back. I wish.
Hey, Alex.
Oh, wow.
You can, I don't know. I was going to do a freestyle about you.
That was exciting. I was hoping you continued. No?
2024. It's the year right now, and we're have.
Anyways, Walter Mercado, he makes an appearance in my play. And Walter Mercado was this like a celebrity astrologist, psychic, overall wonderful being.
Oh, my kind of guy.
Yeah, like the opulence, the big, the little gaudy, I would say, some of his style choices. But his message was all about love. And so, I have him in my play. I have all kinds of fantastical things in my play. And I think that I see kind of the world a little bit like that, like through rose colored glasses almost.
But what's it about?
It's about, oh, goodness.
Wait, actually, before you answer that, I like how, so what's your work about? Is such a hard question to say. Mm-hmm. And then I get you talking about your work and I say, what's it about? And you're like, I'm going to jump right in.
You want to hear what it's about?
Well, I do, but just, isn't that fucking weird?
Yeah. Because I think, oh my goodness, I heard this wonderful quote that I saw on TikTok. I'm not going to lie to you, but it was Elizabeth Olsen. Did she say it? It's not her quote. She quoted someone smart. But it's basically the idea is that creativity thrives with restrictions. Like you have to give somebody like parameters to be able to like find the most creative choices in there. If you give like a big open-ended kind of thing, there's no structure. It just kind of.
Yeah. So you're saying I asked a bad question.
No,
Elizabeth Olsen is saying through a quote that I asked a bad question.
Not a bad question, but it does.
So what's your play about, Alex?
Open-ended.
What's your play about?
Boobs. It's about boobs, Carl. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Always.
I mean, it's called Boobs. Yeah. It's called Boobs. I'm going to stand by this title. It is not a working title. I have decided this is the title.
The title is so important.
Yeah.
The title is really, really important.
Yeah. Like let's bring in the audience,
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You sell sex.
Boobs.
Boobs.
So what does Walter Mercado have to do with boobs? Is it Walter? Walter? Why am I being German?
Walter Mercado.
Okay.
I don't even know if I can say that.
Mr. Mercado.
Mr. Mercado. I think he just becomes like a guiding light for her while she, this character who's very, very, very loosely based on me, Struggles with identity of being like a twin, always feeling second place, feeling like never chosen. You just, typical actor stuff. I guess it's not typical actor stuff. That's my own personal journey. Because I'm a twin sister and I'm a fraternal twin. And my twin is, the taller, long, straight hair. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. And I think that there's like I remember growing up, oh God, this is like therapy hour now. I remember therapy hour. I remember growing up, there would be like boys, for example, who would get close to me in order to get to my sister. So it'd be like, they'd be my best friend, but their intentions were really just to like put in a good word for your sister.
That sucks.
No, but it's funny now. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm like, oh my God. But I'm like, I think that there's something so, I guess, relatable about that kind of experience, about adolescence, about, I don't know, maybe not feeling like enough. And how, and then, so at the same time that the story progresses about, and this is still a work in progress, so it could all change. At the same time that you're seeing the story about this 5th grade girl, you're seeing the parallel story of the adult version of that. And I guess how those things creeped into adulthood.
How does your writing reflect your acting?
I don't know. I second guess myself a lot when it comes to my writing.
And your acting.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, Carl, read me to filth, I guess.
Listen, we rehearsed together.
We did, yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I guess I struggle with if I'm making the quote unquote right choice.
I blame Alan.
Oh, Alan Langdon. Alan, I love you so much. Don't listen to Carl.
He has passed.
Yes.
So.
But he's listening. He's always around.
Okay.
Like Walter Mercado.
Yeah.
They're both here right now. Walter has also passed. Please.
Well, I don't know Mr. Mercado. I also didn't know Alan Langdon, but I know a lot of people who have studied with Alan Langdon.
Oh, yeah. He was everything to me.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I would disagree. I don't think it was Alan's fault. I think Alan also saw that in me. And, while I was in his class, I would make a choice and then in the moment, then take it back and do the scene again and try a different choice. And he kind of pointed that out a couple of times. So I think that's just a part of who I am. I think I just need to like trust who I am more. I think I'm getting better at it, but it's definitely a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you making all the right choices, Carl?
No.
Yeah. And you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Does it gnaw at you?
No, I don't. I think just maybe as a matter of philosophy, I'm not sure that there are like right choices.
Right. Yeah. But like maybe not the right choice, the best choice.
Impossible.
No.
I just think that's not possible. I think on a practical standpoint, it's not good to pursue because then you get paralyzed. And I also think on a just general philosophical standpoint, I don't think that exists in a creative context.
I mean, 1,000%. But like, how do you then put that into practice into real life? You know what I mean?
By making bad choices deliberately.
Like almost like if it were rejection therapy or something, just do the bad thing and don't be afraid.
Yeah, well, I think more, not like actually being like, I'm setting out to make a bad choice, just without attachment to whether or not the choice is good or bad. Just kind of throwing it out there into the room and being like, what the fuck happens?
You see, this is why the actor studio would be wonderful.
Well, evidently not.
Apparently not, because they said no thanks.
But I mean, in our rehearsal process, I thought that was really interesting, right? Like, because we did have, we approached the text we were working on and the scene from like, we had pretty different practices in the room. And we had many conversations about like...
Yeah. And how wrong you were in all of them. You were just absolutely... I was like, wow, Carl, please.
Wow,
this is embarrassing.
Yeah, he hasn't even been cast in the Mickey Mouse movie. So what the fuck is he doing? But I think... Well, I want to talk about boobs a bit more. But I do think... maybe a little bit after if we have time, I do want to talk a bit about let's talk about it now. We'll talk about boobs later.
Okay.
So I know you have a very a strong and important relationship with mentor, teacher, Alan Langdon.
Yes.
And I have a couple of people, artists, teachers in my mind as well, who I have these like really strong, firm commitments to in my work. And I mean, the attitude that I just expressed about like sort of non-commitment and openness and experimentation is tied to like some very specific teachers who I've mentioned on the show before, like Gabriela Petrov. And at what stage in your growth as an artist were you no longer able to form those kinds of vulnerable connections with teachers? Because I know I can't anymore. I am so guarded now about my craft.
Yeah. Like you feel like you've learned what you needed to learn, or?
No. I feel suspicious of people. And I don't think this is a good thing, but I'm like, I can't accept with open arms the ideas about craft that another person has in the way that I could when I didn't have my own ideas about craft. You know?
Yeah.
Does that feel like something to you?
Yeah, I think I've only ever had let me think. I've had maybe like 3 teachers in my lifetime that I've ever been like I almost followed blindly, you know, that I completely trust their opinions and their I don't know, perceptions or technique.
Who were they?
Garcia. Israel Garcia. He was my acting teacher in high school. Alan Langdon, of course. And I would say also Edward Berkeley.
Yes.
Who has also passed.
And that's a teacher we have in common.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought Ed was absolutely brilliant. But he was a little bit more, I mean, they were, both Alan and Ed were so kind of aloof and kind of hard to grasp. But I don't know, there was something about their work. There was something about their insight that I respected. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of great teachers at Circle. I've had a lot of great teachers. But again, I think it's only been those that I've been absolutely, I don't know, blind, not blindly following.
Willing to give yourself over to.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's because what you're doing when you're working with a teacher is you're asking them to shape you.
Yeah.
Or to help you shape you. They're a guide for you to do work, but it's a really, really vulnerable thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm in the hunt. I'm searching for another one right now.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, but it's hard. I've tried with a couple. I don't want to mention names, but I haven't felt that kind of connection with any of them yet. So I'm still searching.
I think that's brave to be searching, though. Because I know I am like,
Like, you don't want any more mentors? You don't want any more teachers?
Mentors, absolutely. Mentors, friends, peers. But I'm not looking for somebody to get in there with me. And I don't know why.
Fear, shame, ignorance.
There he is.
That's something Alan would say. What's stopping you? Fear, shame, or ignorance? Free lesson for everyone.
Yeah.
What is it? You don't know.
Yeah, I think fear, frankly, is the available answer to me. And it's fear of, like, I feel good about my work, and it's fear of letting somebody that would interfere with that relationship that I have with my work. And it's funny where I was just before saying I don't know what my work is about, and now I'm being like, oh, I feel good about it. And it's true, I do, and I just trust that. And I don't know if I trust anybody more than I trust my relationship with my work.
Yeah. I mean, art is also so subjective, right? So somebody's opinion of your work could be, completely different from what you feel,
Yeah, but it's funny because I would, if Alan Langdon were alive still, when he passed this year, right? Yeah. And he was doing a workshop, would you attend?
1,000%.
Right. Me too. So my sort of Gabby, she hosts workshops in Montreal that I'm never able to go to because I'm fucking stuck down here in the States. And like, I'm always like, fuck. I want to get in touch with, the root of my work, which is this person's work, What does that do for you knowing that you can't anymore with Alan?
Oh boy. Okay. So Alan felt to me like one of the first people. I don't want to get emotional.
You can get emotional.
He was one of the first people who actually, I feel like, saw me and championed. He rooted for me, and I feel like a lot of people probably felt the same way, or probably a lot of other people didn't feel that. But for me, I felt like Alan. He really did see me, and he said some very special things to me privately once that have always kind of like stuck with me. So in moments of self-doubt, I think back on those those cherished memories I have with him to kind of keep me going. And I am, wow, okay. I'm really feeling this. Yeah, I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken that I won't be able to, reach out to him again for advice, or that I won't be able to just, show off that I'm doing something exciting, or, have him, like say some, I don't know. There's just, or his little laugh, or his little mannerisms. Like I'm sad I won't be able to experience those moments with him again. But the moments that I do have with him, they're so special, and I'm just going to cherish them forever. But my God, I don't know if I'm ever going to find another teacher like that again.
Yeah.
In this lifetime.
What's so special about that relationship of the teacher is because you let him in so intimately, right? Your work going forward will always be kind of carrying his light, honoring him through your work.
Yeah. I hope to make him proud. Yeah, but it's bizarre because I'm not the only person he's affected in this way.
Very, very, very influential. So for anybody listening who doesn't know who Alan Langdon is, he was a director for a long time in the city and in the States, but also a teacher at Circle and Square Theater School. He was kind of like the primary scene study acting teacher for, 20 years, 25 years. Yeah. Him and Ed Berkeley together were kind of like the spine of the program for a very long time. Yeah.
I feel like he was like one of the greats.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
For me, like when we were talking about institutions and how institutions change, it is really strange how there's this man who has so intimately touched the lives of most of the artists in my community, like my school community, who I never met.
Yeah. At all?
Not even once.
Wow.
Sorry, there's fucking construction. It's a metaphor for education. But like, what was so interesting for me, and I think frustrating for me in working with you on that actor studio thing, was here's this person who represents a different institution than the one that I went to, that we both went to.
Yeah, different era.
Yeah. And so we had so many things in common and values, and I think I like you a lot and I like your work a lot. And then also so many things that were like, and I think the reason we kept talking about whose version of the craft is better was, maybe I felt this like sort of weird hang up for myself about like, it matters whose version of the craft is better because it matters which version of the institution is the one that has legitimacy in the field. Although, I mean, obviously you're winning.
Well, I mean, you can't. There was also some dark stuff that happened at Circle too that was, I think, part of my era of Circle, and not necessarily, or I don't know if it was as prevalent in your era of Circle.
No, all of the major changes in faculty and stuff were, I think, good. A lot of changes for the better, based on stories that I've heard, based on people that I've spoken to about how Circle was before the summer of 2020 and afterwards. Like, yeah.
It's very different.
We get breaks.
Oh, goodness. You know, I remember there was one, I was exhausted during Circle, and I remember there was like, I skipped clowning class one time just to be able to catch up on sleep. And I figured, I'm like, okay, you know, this is the one that I can like skip. But it was interesting because that's the one that during that, while I skipped that class, that's when Alan came down and like sat next to me, and he saw me alone in the lobby. And that's one of my biggest memories with him. That conversation that we had in that lobby alone, nobody else around. I was like, is this real life? It's almost like a dream. Yeah, I don't want to share too much about what was said. I don't want to.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm not asking.
Yeah.
I can read the room.
Yeah. But it was, yeah, thank goodness we didn't get breaks, you know? Because then if we did, everyone would have been around and that conversation probably wouldn't have happened.
Well, there you go.
It's, I think, what I'm getting to. Oh, it's horrible. But it was wonderful. There was something about it, though, about like having no sleep and being at 100 and having sharing personal stories in front of a class and feeling exposed and vulnerable 24/7. That almost felt, I don't know, I guess maybe that's like a little bit cultish, but there was something that was
Your
like,
words, not mine. Although I agree.
Yeah, there is something that was alluring about that to someone who's an artist, you know, that's like, I just want to be constantly, I want to do art and I must suffer for my art. Although I don't necessarily agree with that so much anymore. But yeah, there was something about that.
Yeah, it's one of the thrills and dangers, I think, of like a culture that is open me up, get in there. You know, is that if you have trusted hands, that's really awesome. And if you have somebody who's clumsy, then that's a fucking disaster, you know? And I think in that era, there were a lot of clumsy hands. Were you a part of like any of the push for changes? Or were you like, when you were done, you were like, I gotta be. Whew.
Yeah. I knew one of the founders of
Circle of Inequity.
Yeah. We were pretty close at the time when, she called me and said that she was asking for letters, for people to write letters. She wanted to kind of expose a lot of the injustices that she experienced, racial injustices that she experienced, and kind of all the hush-hush stuff. And I honestly, I struggled with
loyalty and
I have a friend here who's asking for this, and then when I went to the school, I had such a, I mean, my year wasn't perfect, but
yeah, I mean, nobody can have a perfect experience,
right?
But abuse and stuff is not.
But yeah, so I was there to support my friend. You know, I was, and it's. I think that if I didn't, I would have felt like I was part of the problem. You know. But yeah, I remember there was this giant, because it was in the middle of the pandemic, and then there was this giant Zoom call where administrators, faculty, big head honchos and students were all invited.
Yeah.
And some people shared their letters on the call, and, you know, some of the faculty responded with their own letters of apology, or some just listened. And It was kind of shocking.
Yeah. And part of like the momentum of the sort of broader reckoning in 2020 of like, wow, we really got to fucking do something. And to Circle's eternal credit, they did.
Yeah. Well, some people to this day argue that it's not enough. It wasn't enough. And like, I do want to say that. I mean, I have been back at Circle, and I think that there's so many great changes, and it feels like a brighter, more vibrant place. But there are still some people that feel like it's not enough.
Yeah.
And I guess it's valid, you know? Mm-hmm. Or I don't know if it'll ever feel like it's enough because of what they experienced.
Yeah, right. Because it's like justice looks like something different for everybody.
Yeah.
And based on your own experiences.
Yeah.
But yeah, my experience at Circle was so positively impacted by the people who made Circle of Inequity happen and who took action around it. Yeah. Like truly, because I auditioned for a different school than the one I attended, basically.
Yeah. Why did you go to Circle?
Ooh, excellent question. When I visited Circle, after I'd been accepted to see if this is the place I want to go, I asked a student who was sitting around learning lines why he had chosen Circle. And he said, because they accepted my FAFSA application.
Oh, that's a good sign.
Yeah, great. But I had gotten into a few schools, and I chose Circle because they accepted my FAFSA application. No, I can't do FAFSA. I'm Canadian. So I took out a Canadian loan. I didn't have student debt until I came to the States.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah.
American dream.
You bet. I chose Circle for a few reasons. One was the sort of like mixing pot pitch. Like I had spoken with Colin, who was also gone awayed. Mm-hmm. When I visited about like what the school's philosophy is, and the pitch was, we give you a whole bunch of tools. We teach a whole bunch of different ways of acting, and it's kind of for you to synthesize what works for you, what doesn't. And that was attractive to me because I had finished my undergrad, that was journalism and theater, and I had like a firm sort of sense of my values as an artist, and I wanted more technique. Mm-hmm. So going to a school that was like, we're going to give you a whole bunch of technique. Awesome, groovy. It was 2 years rather than some of the other programs I'd gotten into, which were 3 years. So I'm in the States for a limited time because I'm here with my wife. She's doing her PhD, and when her PhD is done, we don't know where we'll be. So I was like, 2 years, then I'll get working sooner. Better. Awesome. Let's do it. I'm impatient. Let's go. And because it was 2 years, it was also less expensive, which is not nothing. And the kind of like pedigree of the school I didn't know about. I didn't know, I didn't know fucking Lady Gaga went to the school, whatever, who cares? But when I went into a Broadway theater and went into the basement of the Broadway theater and was around a bunch of young people studying their craft, I was like, that feels correct. It feels good for a school to be attached to a theater, for a place for artists to grow, to be attached to a place where artists work and not just like a silo. Because the conservatory model I'm suspect of just, we're going to hide away from the world. And I felt like at Circle, you couldn't do that, for better or for worse. When American Buffalo was on at Circle, we couldn't use our biggest rehearsal room because it was under the stage. And Mr. Mamet insisted on silence for Darren Criss to forget his lines in.
No shade.
What are you talking about? Yeah, so I chose Circle for the practical reasons of time and money, and the philosophical reasons of I agreed with the philosophy of the pedagogy. Hey, pedagogy.
Oh,
and for the vibes.
I like the vibes, man.
I did. It's important. Vibes are really important.
Absolutely.
Why did you go to Circle?
Oh my goodness. I was in Miami and I was doing some work in Miami, but it didn't feel like enough. I wanted more, and the opportunities, like one audition every 3 months, is just not enough.
Had you studied acting before, or you just decided to be an actor?
Yeah, so my story is a little interesting because
How do I not know this? How did I never ask you this?
I know, Carl, God, are we even friends? I I went to a community college. I was not a resident. I was in the process. So it was like 3 times the tuition was like 3 times rather than the regular.
Yep.
So had to do community college because it was still expensive.
Also, education is education. I fucking hate the American snobbery and hierarchy of education. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. But anyways, so I did that for 2 years and, it was acting or drama or whatever it was. And, I did a few plays. It was a great time. And then I finished the 2 years and I just didn't feel like going to university made sense. I didn't want to do anything other than acting classes. So I just started acting, in the city and doing a couple of gigs here and there. But again, it was so few and far between the auditions. So I needed to go to a place that had more opportunities like New York or LA. And then I remember watching Angels in America. Oh my goodness,
What a perfect little adaptation.
God, that was wonderful.
Yeah.
I really did. I don't know if you're being sarcastic.
No, I genuinely adore the HBO miniseries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I loved it. There's an actor, I believe his name is Justin Kirk. I feel horrible. He's the one who's like dying.
Pryor, Richard.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. And I thought he was phenomenal. I wanted to consume everything he had ever done. So I looked up what school he went to, and it was Circle in the Square. And I was like, oh, I want to be like him. I want to be that good.
I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to touch the rim.
So I ended up just applying to Circle, and I didn't apply anywhere else. I was like, well, if it's Circle, it's Circle, and if it's not, then I'm not going. So I ended up doing the audition for Colin. And I remember asking him, I was like, after the audition, I was like, oh, how soon afterwards do we find out? And he's like, oh, you'll know soon. And he seemed excited. And I was like, oh my God, did I just get in? And then like less than a week later, I think I got an email or a letter. I don't even remember. And then within the month I was living in New York and, I had nothing saved up and it was wonderful, but you do it. You do it anyways.
What did you audition with?
I auditioned with, I think I did Lady Anne from Richard III. Mm-hmm. And then I did.
Which one?
Thou Foul Devil. Oh my goodness.
In the scene where he seduces her? She allows herself to be won over?
Right before that. So she's like cursing him out, telling him, you disgust me. You nasty.
Yeah.
So that. And then my comedic light one was one that I just found in like a monologue book, which is apparently is a big no-no. But, I didn't know that at the time. But it was a funny little kid. It was like I played like a little kid who's talking about like auditioning and like who the heck is Dustin Hoffman? And it's such a cute little part. But it's fun and it's something that I had done in high school. And I was like, oh yeah, this little piece. But it was such a fun thing. And I made Colin laugh. And I think he just really, I don't know, he enjoyed my work. So I was very grateful to get in because I had no other options. I had no other backup. I wanted New York and I figured, it circles away. Why am I going to waste my time with anything else? And so, yeah.
Yeah. I will say that I am really glad to have made the choice that I did.
Yeah. Well, so would you recommend Circle to other?
It depends.
Oh.
I mean, I think conservatory training in America is too expensive.
I mean, everything's expensive here, but yeah.
But I really think it depends. I mean, if somebody was dead set on doing conservatory training, and I think if they had the right independence of spirit, and they were like, I want to go to Circle, I'd be like, absolutely. I think this is a pedagogical problem based on my values as an educator and as a learner.
I say that word a lot.
I do. I love pedagogy. It's great as a word and as a concept. But because the school is so kind of like, here's a bunch of ways of working, go nuts. If you don't come in with a sense of who you are as an artist, you can be overwhelmed. And I think that can be fruitful, but I think it can also be overwhelming. And the conservatory style training that doesn't really engage with theory or history very strongly and only presents technique, I think if you don't come in with a sense of who you are or a sense of what you're interested in, then the lack of sort of like theoretical grounding can put you at the mercy of ways of working rather than putting you in control of them as a student, you know?
Yeah, I've had this conversation with a friend of mine. I think that circle should have been for, I don't think it should have been for 18-year-olds.
It's an MFA program.
Yeah. You got to be a little, I don't know, seasoned. Have seen some stuff, have done some stuff, you know.
Well, you need to have a life to make art about.
Yeah.
To be an artist. And I mean, I know a lot of people who have gone to the school and who are at the school and who are young and have graduated and are doing work, and I'm happy for them. But it always strikes me as like, I feel like what a young person needs, what I think about what anybody needs doesn't fucking matter. Nobody's listening to me. But I think education is cool.
I'm listening to you, Carl.
I think get an education and then go get training. If a young person asked me what to do about going to Circle, I'd be like, go get an education and then go get training. If somebody our age was like, I want to get better training, I want to go to Circle, I'd be like, fuck yeah, go for it. Go nuts.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, we had a big age gap or a big age group. And I feel like.
Us too. What was your oldest?
We don't know. She wouldn't share her age.
Okay. Ours was, I think, 33 when we started. How old is he now? Daniel, how old are you? Text me. And our youngest was 17.
Wow. That's too young. You're a baby. Are they okay?
Yeah, I think so. And a few quite young people as well. And then sort of like the big clump was around like 21, 22. And then there were a few outliers who were on the older end, like myself, like Nick, like Daniel, like Maria. Yeah, a lot of younger folk. But what our year was special because it was the COVID year. So the people who showed up were the most fucking committed people, you know?
Oh, absolutely. You have to be.
Yeah. I mean, even more than the baseline level.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we were the ones who decided that during the pandemic, we were going to go to fucking Zoom Circle in the Square.
Did you feel like you got enough out of it? It's Zoom, you know? There's something lost there.
There's a lot lost. But that's what a pandemic is, right? Loss.
Oh.
So I had a good time, all things considered. Even on Zoom, I learned a lot. I made friends, and I learned more about who I was as an artist. So kind of mission accomplished in any case. We are coming up on the end of our time. Was there anything that you would have wanted me to ask you that you didn't have a chance to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I'm a yapper. I can yap forever. But I don't think that there was anything else that you did a great job, Carl.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I think I said earlier that you asked me a bad question and
Well, no, you didn't. You said that Elizabeth Olsen said that somebody sharing a milquetoast cliche said,
how dare you, ask me such a broad question without restrictions, without clear borders.
It's because you weren't giving me enough as a scene partner.
We're going to fight again.
No, I love you.
I love you.
Okay, well then, where can people see you? Where can people find you? Where can people ask you about boobs?
Oh my goodness. I don't have a website.
Nice.
Oh, that is a question we should talk about. But no, it doesn't matter. We are already past it.
Next time you come on, we can ask.
Yeah. Next time. Hopefully next time.
You'll be in another movie.
There'll be
Steamboat Willie 2.
The sequel. Oh, no, there's something more clever there. Steamboat Willie 2.
Willie's back.
We're good at this. We're very good at this. Willie's back. That's all we got. I guess.
Steam.
You got it?
Steamboat Willie 2.
Well, it's Screamboat. It's Screamboat, folks. Please watch it in theaters, January 2025.
Okay, so that answers the question of where people can see you. Anything else you're working on that you want people to know about?
I was in a short film recently that's currently making the circuit. It was just in the New York Latino Film Festival. It's going to be in the New Orleans Film Festival.
What's it called?
It's called Isme.
All right, look it up, folks.
Look it up.
And where can people find you?
Instagram at Alex AAACOSTA. Alex Acosta.
Wonderful. Alex Acosta, everybody. Thank you for being on the show. I've been Carl Bindman, and you'll hear this again in the outro.
I love you guys. Bye.
thank you for listening to another episode of Art Workers, the Independent Artists Forum. That was Alexandra Acosta, and I have been your host, Carl Bindman. This show is also sound designed and edited by Carl Bindman. So if you have enjoyed this episode and would like to hear more, be sure to add Art Workers to your library, and you can reach me with any questions in the information in the show notes or on my website, carlbindman.com. Thank you to Louie Zong for the use of the theme song of this show, Fragments, and thank you to you for listening. I'll see you next time.